From the ashes of World War II emerged a new kind of conflict, a conflict that would reshape the global order for the next 50 years. This was the Cold War, a battle not of weapons, but of ideologies, economies, and politics. The conflict would rage between two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. The origins of the Cold War can be traced back to an uneasy alliance between the United States and the Soviet Union during World War II. Despite their united front to fight the Nazis, deep ideological differences and mutual distrust simmered beneath the surface. Once united against a common enemy, these two superpowers now faced off in a struggle for global supremacy. At the heart of this conflict were two completely opposing ideologies: capitalism versus communism. The United States supported and promoted capitalism, advocating for democratic governance, individual freedoms, and market-driven economies, while the Soviet Union aggressively embraced and promoted communism. Communism is the idea that all property and resources should be owned and controlled by the community or the central government in an effort to create equality in a classless society. The Soviets viewed democracy and capitalism as fundamental threats against communism. In the aftermath of World War II, tension and distrust only escalated between the Soviet Union and the United States, fueled by clashing visions and disagreements on how post-war Europe should be divided, governed, and rebuilt. Under Joseph Stalin, the Soviet Union viewed itself as a superpower and having the right to expand. With a well-equipped military honed in the fires of the Second World War, they moved swiftly. They took advantage of the power vacuum and the devastation caused by the war and preyed on the weakened nations in Eastern Europe. By force, they either annexed nations or installed communist regimes loyal to Moscow. Within a few years, the Soviets controlled over a dozen nations that lie between Russia and Western Europe. In essence, the Soviets had created what Churchill referred to as the Iron Curtain, a broad ideological division and a barrier of protection between the Soviet Union and Western European democracies. The U.S. became alarmed of the Soviets' rapid expansion and its successful spread of communism. They began to realize the Soviets' desire for expansion was not just regional, but global. This led to the U.S. to design and implement a series of policies aimed at stopping the spread of communism. Central to the U.S. strategy against Soviet expansion was the policy of containment. This approach aimed to restrict the spread of communism through strategic alliances, economic aid, and military aid. First, we have the Truman Doctrine, announced by President Harry Truman in 1947. This doctrine was a key policy of the United States during the early years of the Cold War and attempted to counter the Soviets' geopolitical expansion. It pledged to provide military and economic assistance to all democratic nations under the threat of communist pressure. This was followed by the Marshall Plan. This plan, initiated by the United States, was a massive economic aid package that provided aid to Western European countries after World War II. Proposed by U.S. Secretary of State George Marshall in 1947, the plan was designed to rebuild destroyed cities and economies of Europe, as well as to foster political stability. Lastly, there was the formation of NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. NATO was a powerful military alliance that brought together countries from North America and Europe. Countries in the alliance agreed to protect each other if the Soviet Union attacked. In response to the formation of NATO, the Soviet Union created the Warsaw Pact in 1955. This was a military alliance between the Soviet Union and 7 Eastern European satellite nations. Central to the Cold War was the nuclear arms race. The United States and the Soviet Union, wary of each other's ambitions, embarked on a relentless pursuit of nuclear supremacy. This pursuit began with the United States' monopoly on atomic technology. But the landscape changed dramatically in 1949, when the Soviet Union detonated its first atomic bomb, shattering any illusions of unilateral power. Both nations amassed vast arsenals, ensuring total destruction. At the peak of the Cold War, each side had tens of thousands of nuclear warheads and developed rapid delivery systems, such as intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs. These could reach a target in 30 minutes or less. Amidst growing fears of annihilation, a doctrine emerged: mutual assured destruction, or MAD. This is a grim pact that ensured if one superpower had launched a nuclear attack, the other would respond with equal or greater force, leading to the end of the world. Besides the arm race during the Cold War, another type of race unfolded. This race was not fought on land or sea, but in the expanse of space. This was the space race. More than a quest for the stars, the space race was a testament to national pride and technological ability. Each side was eager to prove the superiority of their political and economic system by making the first and greatest accomplishments in space. Achievements in space were used as powerful propaganda tools. Two other key characteristics of the Cold War were the involvement of proxy wars and the dependency of espionage. During the Cold War, both sides built large and advanced military armies, but avoided direct confrontation. Instead, they engaged in various proxy wars throughout the world. This indirect approach was mainly due to MAD, which made direct conflict too risky. Nevertheless, both superpowers became highly dependent on espionage and intelligence gathering. They invested heavily in spy networks, surveillance technologies, and covert operations to gather crucial information. Agencies like the CIA and the KGB of the Soviet Union played key roles in these intelligence operations. This shadow war of spies further intensified the atmosphere of mistrust and paranoia that defined the Cold War era. The Cold War, which ignited swiftly, came to an equally rapid close with the unexpected collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. This dramatic conclusion was the result of a cascade of interconnected events and reforms. What emerged from the ashes of the old Soviet Union was a new Russia. This Russia would quickly evolve into a dangerous regime with aggressive regional and global ambitions, similar to the Soviet Union.